stories from the countryside, most told to us by family members. We believe it is important to share the stories and tales of the peasant people of our country to help celebrate their life and their efforts. The peasants are the ones who often feed us with their produce, and they work hard every day farming the land, so they deserve some recognition.
The story I'm about to tell was passed to me by my grandmother, who's now deceased, when I was a child. She said it was a tale that her own grandmother used to scare her and her brothers into sleeping the entire night. It went like this. When my great grandmother was a child, her mother asked her to go check on the livestock in the middle of the night. Thinking nothing of it, she lit a candle and ventured out of the house, down a small dirt road, and into the fences bracketing the animals of the farm. For a few minutes she checked on them carefully, but just as she was about to finish, she heard noises coming from the chicken coop. As it was a remote area, my great-grandmother wasn't afraid of thieves, but rather feared a small cat would be eating the chickens instead. So with careful steps she made her way into the coop. Her small candle was barely enough to illuminate the room, but she could see enough of the intruder to make her scream. Right there lay the devil himself, as my grandma called him, a naked man with horns on his head and hoofs for feet. But that was not the worst. The creature was gobbling up one of the chicken with its bare teeth. Great-grandmother went on to say that although she escaped, for nights she would hear the same noise play outside her window, of the devil gobbling up the family's chicken, and it was enough to keep her from ever venturing outside at night again. I love this story because it is an example of how bedtime stories and tales can also be cautionary and leave us with knowledge of the dangers of the night, while still being entertaining enough that we can hear them time and time again without getting tired.
I was told this story by my grandfather. My family lives in the city. However, my grandfather used to work on the countryside before moving to the city for a couple years when he was younger. There was one night where he was particularly restless and couldn't get to sleep. Nights at the countryside are always filled with the sound of nocturnal animals or the wind, but he remembers that night being completely silent as well. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning when suddenly he heard a noise in the bushes nearby. Since everyone was already asleep, lights were out and the whole place was pitch dark. The rattling in the bush continued for a few minutes, and by then my grandfather could figure that the sound was coming from a direction near the shed he was sleeping at. He grabbed a flashlight and was getting a bit scared at this point, but he decided to investigate to make sure that no one was trespassing property. As soon as he was getting closer, he saw a silhouette standing from the bushes a few meters ahead. He will always remember this and what he saw. He described the silhouette as a big giant donkey with red, fiery eyes, and in that exact moment he screamed as loud as he could because he thought he was seeing the devil. After that, he heard a human scream, and then he could see more clearly and found out it was one of his coworkers that was hidden in the woods with his girlfriend. Since they all were screaming by that point, they woke up everyone, And when everyone else knew the story, they were laughing all a lot. The moral of the story is at night everything seems scary, but not everything is what it seems it is.
Hello everyone, I'm Daniela Umaña, and today I'm going to talk about a short story that happened to my mother and living in the countryside. So I heard this story from my mother some weeks ago. The story happened to her some years ago when she was living in a farm. It was January and my mother was turning 15 years old. It was a really special occasion at home. She was the youngest from 10 sons, and my grandmother wanted to give her a special gift. On January 20, it was my mother's birthday. It was a super special day at home. Some friends came and some family members who lived far away arrived to the event. They had a special event prepared for my grandfather and then they had a special dance. Everything was super nice, said my mother, but the most special thing that day was my grandmother's gift to my mother. It was a wonderful golden ring. My mother was super excited with that present. She can't believe she received a gift like that from her mother. But one day occurred something super sad to her. She was playing outside in the grass with a sister when she suddenly felt that something happened to her special gift. She didn't feel the ring on her finger. My mother got crazy looking for her ring, but she didn't find it. After some days looking for the ring, they realized that the ring disappeared. My grandmother said something really mystic to my mother. She said that gold is absorbed by earth. If you lose something made by golden, you won't find it easily because earth wants their own materials back to earth. What I can say about this story, it was a super weird in some way. Maybe my grandmother's thoughts were true because my mother never finds again her ring.
This story is about my father. He told me that when he was little, he saw strange things around his house, and he never found an explanation for it. This time it was about a pair of horns in the kitchen window. After playing all day outside and helping his father in the farm, he went to the kitchen to have a glass of water when he saw it. Two horns peeking out from the jar. They were big and deep black, quiet but intimidating. They don't look like bullhorns, my dad thought, and with fear he ran over there, leaving his glass of water. He told to his mother about this, and she said that it was possibly the devil or something. For the way that she said it, calmly, it looked that it was very common to say things like that in their house. Later, he tried to find an animal with similar horns in the town because he was very curious, but he did not find it. What I can say of the story is people of the countryside are very religious, with traditions and beliefs that mark the way to see the world. It is very interesting how they interpret certain phenomena, adjudicating everything to saints, demons, or spirits.
Each of these stories shares in them their origin and are important tales told to us by our families, whom we love and were at some point peasants too. They help us learn about our own heritage and to keep alive the love for the countryside and the land that we rest in. It is an honor to share this with you, as we hope you appreciate them too. We thank everyone who listened and encourage you to ask about your own heritage and how it relates to the peasant people. Thank you.